Greek mythology doesn't start with Zeus. In the very beginning, there was no sky, no sea, no light, no sound, no passage of time. And the first thing to emerge from that empty void wasn't the heavens, it was the earth. Her name was Gaia, and within her family something would soon unfold. That stands as one of the most disturbing events in all of Greek mythology. A son seizes power from his father. The god of the sky falls. The impact reaches the sea, and new gods are born from the foam. And as he falls, the father leaves behind one final curse with his last breath. You will suffer the same fate at the hands of your own children. That curse plays out exactly as promised. Today we're covering where it all begins, from start to finish. The poet who first put the story into order was Hesiod, writing around 700 BCE. His epic poem, the Theogony, is one of the oldest creation accounts in Western civilization. In just over 1,000 lines of verse, he captured everything from the birth of the gods to their full genealogy. Without this poem, our picture of Zeus, Aphrodite, and Olympus would be far less clear. It remains one of the foundational texts for understanding Greek myth. Hesiod opens the story of the world with a single line. In the beginning, there was chaos. That's it. No explanation, no origin, no cause. He doesn't say where it came from, who made it, or why it appeared. Just chaos existed. And that's where everything starts. Here's where most people get it wrong. When we hear the word chaos, we picture disorder, a mess, things spinning out of control. You hear it in movies, in the news, in everyday conversation. But in ancient Greek, the word meant something completely different. It comes from the root chasko, meaning to gape, to yawn open. Chaos wasn't disorder. It was a gap, an open, empty space. Not a mess, but a void. Not confusion, but pure potential. Nothing had been made yet, but everything could be. That distinction matters more than it might seem. Most ancient mythologies begin with a clash, a war, an act of violence. The Greek cosmos begins in silence, nothing happening. No explosion, no command, no conflict. And then, without anyone asking for it, something simply appears. Hesiod doesn't explain why. He doesn't need to. Mythology doesn't analyze causes. It shows you images. The image of something rising out of nothing was enough for people. 3,000 years ago, what rose from that silence was Gaia, the earth. The ground beneath your feet made divine. But why earth first? Why not the sky? In the same era, Egypt placed the sun god Ra at the top of everything. Mesopotamia gave that honor to Anu, the sky god. Both civilizations looked upward. The Greeks looked down. And when you think about it, the reason is simple. The earth receives the seed. The earth grows the grain. When life ends, the earth is where you return. It feeds you, raises you, and takes you back in the end. The sky brings rain, sure, but it also brings lightning. The earth doesn't betray you. So if one thing had to exist before all others, it made sense that it would be the ground. That was the Greek answer. Hesiod describes Gaia as broad-breasted. 3 words that say everything. She is the one who can hold everything. Mount Olympus stands on her. The deepest pit of Tartarus exists within her. Gods, humans, monsters, all of them are born on Gaia and return to her. She was a mother before the word mother even existed. And almost at the same moment Gaia appeared, something else came with her. This is important and most people miss it entirely. Eros. Now, before you picture a chubby winged baby with a heart-tipped arrow, the Valentine's Day card version, forget all of that. That character came much, much later. The Eros in Hesiod is not a child. He's not Aphrodite's son. He's one of the very first things to exist, emerging alongside Gaia just after chaos. He predates Zeus by generations. Here's what Hesiod actually writes about him: Eros, the most beautiful among the immortal gods, who loosens the limbs and overcomes the mind, and wise counsel of all gods and all men. Read that carefully. He loosens the limbs. He overcomes the mind. And this applies to all gods and all men. That includes Zeus. This is not the power of a cute cherub. This is a cosmic force, the fundamental pull that draws one thing toward another. Why does that force need to exist at the very beginning? Think about it. You have chaos, the empty space. You have Gaia, the earth. If that's all there is, nothing happens. The earth just sits there. There's no reason for a sky to form. Something has to pull things toward each other. The earth has to want to reach toward the sky. The sky has to want to come down to the earth. That desire, that pull, that gravity between things, that's Eros. Without him, Gaia never gives rise to the heavens. No sky means no titans, no Cronus, no Zeus, no humanity. Eros isn't just the god of love. He's the force that makes existence possible. Plato saw Eros the same way, as the oldest and most powerful force in the world. Not romantic feeling, but the drive that pushes all things toward each other, toward knowledge, toward connection. When the ancient Greeks placed Eros third in the order of creation, they weren't talking about romance. They were making a statement without attraction. The universe simply doesn't run. So here's the blueprint. Chaos, the empty stage. Gaia, the first being. Eros, the force that sets everything in motion. Clean, ordered, almost elegant. But this beautiful beginning doesn't hold. And from here, the story turns dark. Gaia's first act she creates on her own, without a partner. She gives birth to Uranus, the sky, an existence as vast as herself, something that could cover her completely. Sky as wide as the earth. She also brings forth the mountains and the sea, Pontus, all of it by herself. Everything you see when you look out a window, land, sky, mountains, ocean, came from one being. Then Gaia unites with Uranus, the son she gave birth to. By modern standards, it's a jarring setup. But for the ancient Greeks, this wasn't a moral question. It was a natural metaphor. The sky rises from the earth. When sky meets earth, rain falls. Rain brings seasons, seasons bring life. The mechanics of the world were being told through the relationships of gods. And practically speaking, there was no one else. Gaia was all there was. From Gaia and Uranus, children began to arrive. First, the 12 Titans. Cronus, Rhea, Oceanus, Hyperion, and the others. The generation that would eventually become the parents of the Olympians. That part went smoothly enough. The problem was what came after. 3 Cyclopes, each with a single eye set in the middle of their forehead. And then 3 Hecatoncheires, each with 100 hands and 50 heads. Picture what it looks like when a being with 50 heads opens its eyes for the first time. Uranus looked at them and felt something cold move through him. These were his children, his own blood. But what he felt wasn't love. It was revulsion. And behind the revulsion came something stronger, fear. If these beings grow to their full strength, what happens then? What if they turn on me? What if they take what's mine? His decision was brutal. Put them back. Make it as if they were never born. He forced his children into the deep places inside Gaia, into Tartarus, where no light reaches and no sound carries. They existed but were made to exist as nothing. This is the first true tragedy of Greek mythology. He didn't destroy them. He denied them. And here is what you need to pay attention to. This pattern repeats. Uranus imprisons his children. In the next generation, Cronus seals his own children inside himself. In the generation after that, Zeus overthrows his father. 3 generations, the same cycle of fathers, destroying sons and sons rising against fathers. It all starts here in Uranus and his fear. Now consider Gaia's position. Her children are locked inside her own body, living beings trapped within her, struggling to get out. She wants to free them. She can't. Uranus holds everything down. The sky presses flat against the earth and there is no way out. Hesiod says Gaia groaned, the earth groaning. What that means is the world itself was in pain. Pain becomes resolve. Gaia decides this ends. She gathers her Titan children, all 12 of them, and speaks plainly. You know what your father has done. Your brothers and sisters are imprisoned. I cannot bear this any longer. Is there any one of you willing to stand against him? The room goes quiet. 12 Titans look at each other. Nobody speaks, because Uranus isn't just their father. He is the sky itself. Look up right now. That endless expanse above you, that's who they'd be fighting. 11 of them look away. 1 steps forward. The youngest, Cronus. And Hesiod's word for him is telling. He calls him crafty Cronus. Not brave, not noble, crafty. Because what drove Cronus forward wasn't only a sense of justice. He saw an opening. If I do what no one else will do, I take the throne. Who could challenge me after that? The moment of heroism and the moment of ambition are one and the same. Gaia gives him a weapon, a great sickle forged from adamant, a metal that can cut through anything. And she gives him a plan. Every night, Uranus descends to cover the earth. During the day, the sky is unreachable, but at night he comes close. That is the only moment it can be done. Cronus hides. He waits in the dark. Night falls. Uranus begins to lower himself toward Gaia, the same as every night. He suspects nothing. Cronus strikes from the darkness. One swing of the sickle and everything changes. The sky god cries out, and what is cast off falls into the sea. And then something extraordinary happens. Where the drops from the fallen sky god touch the earth, new beings are born. The Erinyes, goddesses of vengeance, the giants. Born from a wound, from a moment of rupture, the Erinyes would go on to become some of the most feared figures in all of Greek mythology, relentlessly pursuing anyone who harms their own family. The warning was built into the very moment of their birth. Raise a hand against your father and retribution follows. Then there is what fell into the sea. Where it lands, white foam spreads across the water. In Greek, that foam is Aphros. And from within that foam, a goddess takes form. Aphrodite, born of sea foam, goddess of beauty and love, the most beautiful being in existence, born from the story's most violent turning point so far. Greek mythology never claimed that love was pure. From the very beginning, it said beauty has suffering woven into its roots. Uranus falls. The god of the sky is no longer the sky. But as he falls, he opens his mouth one last time. A curse aimed at his children. One day your own children will do to you what you have done to me. That single line becomes the thread that runs through the entire fabric of Greek mythology.
Let's step back and look at the whole picture. This story began in silence, an empty space called chaos. From that emptiness, Earth emerged, then sky, then the force of attraction between things, a beautiful beginning. And the very first thing that beautiful beginning produced was tragedy and rupture. The ancient Greeks didn't romanticize the origin of the world. They were telling us from the start, everything that is built carries within it the seeds of its own breaking. Without Eros, Gaia would never have reached toward the sky. Without the sky, there are no children, no imprisonment, no devastation. Attraction created union, union created birth, birth created tragedy. The force that set the world in motion and the force that tore it apart came from the same root. That is why Eros was placed third in the order of creation. Desire is both the act of building and the condition of destruction. The Greeks never separated the two. And at the center of this entire story, the Greeks didn't place an all-powerful king. They placed Gaia, the one who builds the world, breaks it open, and holds it together again. The rulers of Olympus changed with every generation. Uranus fell, Cronus fell, Zeus rose. But Gaia never changed. When the kings are gone, the earth remains. When the gods come undone, the ground is still there. The Greeks understood this. That's why they gave the earth the first position. Whatever lasts longest should come first.
The curse of Uranus was not wrong. Cronus, once he takes the throne, is consumed by the same fear that destroyed his father, and the choice he makes is even more extreme. He seals each of his children away inside himself, one by one. The one child who survives that fear is Zeus. That story, the battle between Cronus and Zeus, is one we've covered before. You can follow the link on screen to watch it next. One more thing before we go. Gaia wasn't the only thing born from chaos. Darkness was born, and night was born. The goddess Nyx. When you look at the list of her children, something shifts in the air. Death, sleep, fate, vengeance, suffering, deception. And Nyx herself was the one being that even Zeus never dared to challenge. That story is coming next.